One of my work colleagues is a lifelong friend of mine. We lived on the same street growing up, went to the same school, and when I needed a job after graduating from university, she made me aware of an opening at the company where she worked. I applied, got the job, and it's been quite a few years since. We still work together. It's a pretty small company and quite male-dominated, so after we started working together, we became really close. We take all our lunches together, regularly stop by each other's desks for a chat, and quickly became known around the office as inseparable. A year ago, she got engaged to her long-term partner, and I was ecstatic for her. She had a really tough time a couple of years ago with two family members passing back to back, and I did everything I could to be a good friend to her while she was in the worst stages of grieving. She cried with me daily for weeks, and I made sure she knew I was always available to listen. I also took about a third of her workload off voluntarily, so she could take days off when she needed to without stressing about her work building up. Now that life has gotten better for her, and she's always smiling and excited, it's really nice to see. Ever since she got engaged, as expected, she has talked a lot about wedding plans, especially during our lunches. I know basically every detail. When she booked her venue, she was really excited, but she refused to tell me where it was going to be, saying that she wanted it to be a surprise when the invitations came out. The wedding is 2 weeks away now, and I've long since stopped waiting for my invitation to show up. I know when they were sent because she told me all about delivering them and shows me every day the gifts people have started to buy off their registry. I feel silly for saying it, but the more I think about it, the more hurt I feel that I haven't been included. It's a big wedding, and she has invited some other people from work that I didn't know she was even close to. She hasn't mentioned the reason why I'm not invited, and at this point, I feel too awkward to ask. I guess it's just a slap in the face because I really thought we were close, and now I'm realizing that maybe we're not. The trouble is, since all this, I've started to really examine our friendship, and I'm wondering if she even cares about me at all. I can think of 100 examples of where I've helped her work through decisions, listened to her vent, stood up for her when she's had issues with colleagues, etc. Even tons of little things, like if anyone brings in cake and she's out of the office, I always save her a slice so she doesn't miss out. But I can't remember a time that she did anything for me in return. Now when she talks to me, I've realized she doesn't even listen to me. When I'm finished talking, she just carries on with what she was saying before, almost as if I'd never spoken at all. If we're ever talking about me or something I've been doing, she never has anything to say. She just kind of nods and then switches the conversation back to herself. I'm starting to think she couldn't care less about me. She just likes having someone around who she can talk to, and whoever that person is doesn't really matter to her. I've invested so many years into this friendship, and it's really cut me deep. I feel used. It has also made being at work incredibly lonely because she was my only friend. I've stopped having lunch with her, and anytime she tries to chat, I politely bring the conversation to a quick end and go back to work. She doesn't appear to have even noticed. I do still wish her well. I'm still glad for her that life has turned around, and she's so happy, but I'm a bit lost. I'm not sure if I'm being too harsh because I'm hurt, or if I even have the right to feel hurt in the first place, as I know weddings have a finite number of guests, and you have to leave people out that you would invite in an ideal world. But I'm not sure there's any way back from this either. Update 1. So it took me a few days to decide on the best way to approach this, but yesterday I had lunch with her again and had the conversation. I started by saying, "So you've sent out all your invitations now, haven't you?" She looked immediately panicked by my question, and I knew right away that she didn't want me to go down this road. When she said she had sent them all, I asked if that meant she could show me her venue now. She showed me the website, including the photo gallery, and talked me through all about where everything was going to happen, all the flowers and decorations she was going to add, etc. It's a nice enough country hotel with some pretty gardens, but I'm not sure what all the secrecy was for. I probed a little more, asking who she's invited from work. Spoiler, the list didn't include me. I said I was looking forward to seeing the photos so I could see how everything looked, and since she didn't correct me that I would see it on the day of, I was completely sure that my lack of invitation wasn't an accident. She looked so relieved when I switched the subject and asked if she's excited about her honeymoon and having a rest from all the wedding stress. I thought it over carefully, and I have decided not to ask why for a couple reasons, one of which is already fairly obvious. She clearly doesn't think we're anything more than colleagues, and I've misread the situation. I'm not sure why she didn't cool it on the wedding talk with someone she had no intention of inviting, or even just bring it up with me and explain why I'm not invited, but never mind. Having an awkward relationship at work is the last thing I want. I'm worried that if I push this and turn it into an issue, I'll look pathetic and needy, or it will just be unprofessional. I also run the risk of her badmouthing me to colleagues and mutual friends, and I will find it much easier and less messy to handle my own feelings quietly. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for her, and I don't want to be the source of drama that dampens her spirits at all. I'd rather just let her enjoy her wedding, make good memories, and not bring her down. And you know, I'm fine with not going. It was never really about getting invited to a wedding, it was more about facing the fact that I'd been naive and taken for granted, and I felt silly that I'd invested way too much in this relationship. That's not all on her because she was never obligated to be my friend. Talking it through in my previous post actually really helped me work through my feelings. When I went back to work on Monday, I felt much calmer and more detached from it emotionally. I have looked back on our entire relationship, and honestly, she's always been self-involved, entitled, and narcissistic. Being a bride has just made it more obvious, but it's always been there. She's also never given back to me, besides helping me get my job, which, of course, I'm grateful for. She's never been willing to talk me through any problems I've had, and although I help her happily with her work, she says no if I ask her for help in return. She has a few office enemies, and even though I saw her negative traits that caused her to be disliked by some people, I overlooked them and defended her anyway. Now that I have put a little distance there, it's quite apparent that she is not a very nice person, and I'm genuinely okay with just moving on. She hasn't really noticed the distance between us so far, or she has noticed and doesn't care, so I intend to just continue with doing that. If she eventually asks why, or I get the sense that she's trying to rekindle our friendship, then it will be time to clear the air with how I've been feeling. If she doesn't, and we just continue drifting, then that's probably for the best. It's sad to lose a friend, and it will probably take me some time to get over it and become comfortable with the change in our relationship. However, I have other genuine friendships and plenty of colleagues who are lovely people, and I can get to know them better now. Update 2. It's been over 4 years since I posted my original story. I have received occasional messages asking for an update, but I didn't expect to post one. However, my story was featured in a YouTube video yesterday, and I've had a flurry of messages, so let me tell you what has happened since. The colleague and I still work together. In the time that has passed, she has had 2 kids and took 12 months off for each, so she hasn't actually been around a lot. At first, I avoided her. Looking back, I was being petty and giving her the silent treatment. I was hurt, and I wanted to hurt her back. Not my finest hour, but the joke was on me as I don't think she even noticed. But then 2020 happened, and we were working from home. Then she went on maternity leave, and by the time we were back together in the same office, it had all been long forgotten. At this point in time, we are friendly. I genuinely hold no grudges, but I understand what our relationship is now. I don't overextend myself, and I don't expect anything more from her than chit-chat. In the meantime, the company has grown a lot, and I have a good group of work friends. We go out for lunch, go to the pub on Fridays, and sometimes hang out on weekends. I have always had some wonderful friends, but now I have a bunch more, and these ones I get to see 5 days a week. One of the people in this group got married 4 months ago, and not only was I invited to her wedding, but also her bachelorette party. I was on the photographer's list for an official photo with her, along with the other work friends she invited, and after a few drinks, she gave me a big kiss and said she was so pleased I was there. Another one of them is recently engaged, and although her wedding is a while away, I have already been informally invited without having to ask. As for the comments addressing me as a doormat, all I can say is that I have grown a lot as a person since then. For starters, you really do just care less as you get older. Hitting 30 did wonders for my self-esteem and inner peace. Secondly, I have grown in confidence. I used to be terrified of letting anyone down, so I overcompensated. It took time for me to realize I'm actually a really good friend. The more people I meet who like me just as I am, the safer I feel being authentically me. With this growth in confidence, I started using my voice a bit more, firstly just with little things. When nothing bad happened, it got easier. I could speak freely without being afraid of losing friends. There's been no major drama, but I believe if there were, I could handle it much better. Some of the messages I've received have been asking for advice, so here's my 2 cents that I learned from this entire situation. Healthy friendships have a balance of giving and taking. If you look back over the history of a friendship, and the balance is unevenly weighted, you should address that. Can you remember the last time you did something thoughtful for a friend, or they did something for you? Who normally reaches out first? If you live a distance apart, who makes the effort to travel? Who do you spend the majority of your conversations focused on? Would you call them if you were in trouble? And if you did, do you think they would be there for you? Occasionally evaluating your friendships is good for both of you. You don't want to be a taker, but equally, you don't always want to be the giver, or eventually, the friendship will run its course. Not everyone is going to be your bestie. Some friendships are casual, some are just for a season, some dip in and out of your life. Don't expect every friend to be the best friend ever because that's simply not possible or practical. There's a lot to be said for these other kinds of friendships. Some people are great fun on a night out, a good person to pass some time with, or they know how to lift the mood and get everyone laughing. These casual friendships might not have much depth, but they also take very little work and investment. You can enjoy people just as you find them, and when life takes you in different directions, it isn't painful to lose them. Lastly, don't give everything of yourself to everyone. Pick wisely who deserves it. Chances are there are only going to be a handful of people in your life whom you can trust and love enough to pour your heart and soul into. And when it's chosen carefully, it means even more because they're so special to you. If you're currently grieving the loss of a friend who was never really your friend, I just want to give you a big virtual hug. It's not just painful, but also embarrassing and confusing. It makes you question yourself and all your other friendships too. But time heals, and you have true friends just around the corner. Take care of yourselves, everyone.